She was beautiful. She was full of life. She was leading a seemingly perfect life as a growing TV celebrity until one day she disappeared without a trace. Her name is Lim Ji-hyun, and she was last seen in August 2017. Before I start, I would like to send my thoughts and sympathy to the loved ones of Lim Ji-hyun and Lim herself. I do not forget those who experienced the same atrocities at the hands of the North Korean regime. North Korea, a country that is secluded from the rest of the world and isolates its citizens from anything happening outside its borders. The country is also known for its strict treatment of its citizens, including human rights violations and other atrocities. Life in the country is extremely difficult, but escaping even more and will result in long-term forced labor in imprisonment camps or death if caught. This did not deter Lim Ji-hyun, a former North Korea soldier, to make her move and risk death to escape her homeland on a fateful night of April 2014, a decision that would soon bear heavier consequences. Lim Ji-hyun was born in April 1991, about 3 years before the start of the March of Hardship, more commonly known as the Great Famine in North Korea. The event left many to starve for long periods of time, with many others starving to death. Many chose to flee the country for better living conditions. Lim Ji-hyun would grow up in those dire conditions, and when she was 17 in 2008, even though at that time military service was not yet mandatory for women, she would join the North Korea Army. While in the army, Lim would discover just how sexist and misogynistic the army would be. Men were celebrated daily for their bravery and loyalty, and the women soldiers would be offered to them as prizes and beaten or even killed if they were to object. While the men were daily celebrated, the women on the other hand were daily punished for the shortcoming of other men. They were beaten, assaulted, or killed. These living conditions became unbearable to Lim Ji-hyun, and she decided to escape. In April 2014, she managed to arrive in Seoul, the flourishing capital of South Korea. Now, as a free woman, she started working as a bartender, and through the use of social media, she would also open up about her experience in North Korea, an act seen in that northern country as treason and is punishable by forced labor or death. Lim would talk about the dire living conditions in North Korea, the oppression and starvation of the citizens under the eyes of the regime, which would turn a blind eye. Lim would also expose the North Korean military and its treatment of women, as she would share those stories on social media and her own blog. Lim would also grow in popularity, becoming an internet celebrity. North Korea also started taking an interest of her, and it was only a matter of time until Lim Ji-hyun found herself in the middle of a scandal. Pictures and articles of a naked woman looking like her and performing sexual acts started to circulate. It turned out to be a propaganda from North Korea in an effort to publicly smear Lim's reputation and silence her, as any kind of sex work is frowned upon in South Korea. Lim will continue her social media activities, and her stardom will grow bigger in the following year as she will start appearing on a very popular South Korean TV show. She quickly became a fan's favorite and would soon become a regular on the show. Lim was living a life she could only dream of, and on her 26th birthday in April 2017, she shared her happiness with her fans on her blog. She wrote, "This is possibly the happiest birthday of my life. Thank you to all the fans who love me. You gave me the courage to keep speaking out." This was the last time that Lim Ji-hyun was heard of, as she vanished later that same month. What happened to Lim Ji-hyun? And where is she? Her fans and friends, as well as the South Korean authorities, were left wondering. Investigations revealed that she had left her pink studio apartment and belongings as they were before her disappearance, as well as the equivalent of $20,000 in her South Korean bank account, untouched. Speculations about her whereabouts started, and many started to speculate that she might have been kidnapped and returned to North Korea, as the country had tried to silence her before already. With time passing by, everyone started to assume the worst.
저 하나 잘 먹고 잘 살겠다는 그릇된 생각과 남선에 가면은 잘 먹고 돈도 많이 벌 수 있다는 환상과 상상을 가지고
In a big twist of events, in July 2017, Lim Ji-hyun made her first appearance in a few months on national television. In that appearance, she told the viewers that she had returned to North Korea on her own free will and called her life in the South as hell and coerce. She said, "When I was alone in a cold, dark room, I was heartbroken and I wept every day, missing my fatherland and my parents." She proceeded to call herself a human trash and begged for forgiveness from Kim Jong-un. Something was off, and the tearful person on screen was almost unrecognizable. Indeed, Lim, who said her real name was Jeon Hye-sung, was sitting at a wooden table against a white wall in what seemed to be an anonymous government office. Her long, wavy hair had been cropped boyishly short, and she was wearing a traditional long hangback silk gown in place of the fashionable Western dresses and streetwear that she had favored while in South Korea. Her fans in the South were also quick to comment on social media that her eyes looked drowned, as though she had been crying, and her face looked pale and puffy under her ghostly white makeup in place as to possibly hide her bruises. Lim Ji-hyun will make 2 more appearances on North Korea television as a propaganda tool for the regime, and she will spread misinformation for them, including life in the South. She will praise the North Korean regime for treating her well, and will tell other defectors that it was safe for them to return home. Her deterioration could be noticed in each of the separate appearances, and Lim Ji-hyun would not be seen or heard of ever again. I'm going to throw a grand tableau on this case to try and obtain some understanding of what may have happened to Lim and where she could be. The theme of this grand tableau is seen by the first 3 cards, and looking at the garden, the site, and the moon lead me to believe that yes, Lim was indeed abducted, or the possibility for that to have happened is very high, because the site and the garden, this is literally taken out from a group or taken out from a society. And with the whip below the side, she tried to fight against it, or, well, there was a struggle. She tried to run away and escape being taken back to North Carolina, but it didn't work and she was incapacitated somehow and brought back to North Korea. And this was from a meeting that she may have had. And this gentleman could be a broker that she met with. And yes, she was betrayed by him. And that's how she got taken away back to North Korea. The energies in action here in this grand tableau are seen with the cards at the extremities. We have the house, the garden, then the bouquet, and the tower. This is literally being a propaganda prop for the government once she was back to North Korea. The tower card, this is a representation of the government and therefore North Korea. And knighting to the bear, this is the person at the head of this country. Here will be Kim. And with the garden and the bouquet, this is a parade for everybody to see. So even though she was paraded around for everybody to see, and while she would praise the bouquet and the towers, that's praising North Korea and fueling the propaganda. Even though that was happening, she was not what people were meant to think. And instead, because of the house and the tower here, this is forced imprisonment and even labor. So she was a prisoner while going around and praising the country. She was doing all that against her will and was used by North Korea as a prop for their own propaganda and also as a message to be sent to other defectors and other countries. And the bouquet and the tower, this is also surrendering to North Korea. This is a card that will represent Lim Ji-hyun in this grand tableau. I don't have a definite answer as to yes, she is foregone or no, she is not. And that is just because of this card, the coffin, because of how far it is. But again, the presence of the coffin and the distance from her may be an indication that she may not be in this state yet. But I'm looking also at the cards around, and they tell me that even though she may not be in this state, she may be wishing that she was, because the cards all around and between are not very positive. Looking at the cross really close and actually next to Liam, this is a woman who is in a lot of pain physically and mentally, emotionally. I'm looking at the cross and the anchor. I would say defecting is a cross that Liam might be wearing or is going to be wearing for a long time, meaning that yes, she ran away, but now that she was caught, the government has intended to make her pay for that mistake for a long time, possibly a lifetime. Then I'm looking at the cross, the lady, and the key. These three cards tell me that she is now at peace with her choices and her own reality. She was at peace with running away, but she is also at peace now with her current reality, or at least she may be. The anchor, rider, and the fox seem to be also saying that North Korea has been maintaining her alive in very poor conditions. And of course, that is all intended. I'm also wondering if she had lost a pregnancy or more, because here I do see a child and the fish, and the child is mirroring her through the rider. And if she had that child or those children, and children here, this is a plurality, more than one child, she may have lost these children if she had them, because the child here, the child core is right above the coffin. Yeah, this child or these children ending up in this state, and possibly from illness. And the illness here will be because, of course, of the poor treatment of the mother, but also the children, wherever they are all kept. And if this is not children that she may have while in captivity, this could be children that were had somehow in captivity, not just her or not from her, but other prisoners. But regardless of where these children are from, I have the feeling that there is also poor treatment of children where she is kept, and possibly even infanticide. So if she were pregnant at some point or some points, these were difficult pregnancies because, again, of the conditions that she was or she has been kept in. Because here we have the stork and the child. This is a pregnancy, but difficult here, possibly because of lots of disease and other poor treatment. All those could have caused the pregnancies to end, or the treatment over there to end any pregnancies happening either to her or other women where she is or has been kept. Looking at this line and this one from her, on this line we can see the deterioration of her health, but then as we look here, this is loss of pain, loss of sadness, someone broken, taken away back to a place that she originally left, and coming here. If this hasn't happened yet, it is to come. The sight and the whip, along with the man and the garden, these four cards talk about public execution. Lim Ji-hyun's story is not an isolated case. In 2017, Kim Jong-un ordered the North Korea border police to be stricter. His regime also has a secret police with the sole purpose of kidnapping defectors abroad and returning them to North Korea, where they will vanish and never be heard of again. Lim was born into a very difficult life, but chose to always look at the positive side of it. She was courageous and full of life, and this is what she should be remembered as.